On your Tuesday episode of Locked On Raptors, do you like it when we play stupid little games on this here podcast? Well, you're in luck because today we're playing higher or lower.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Tuesday, April the 8th, and I'm your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 11 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on Blue Sky. You can also find the show on Instagram, and you can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. Link in the description of the podcast. Come hang out. Great little listener community we got building around the show. It's been running strong for a couple years now. All the sickos in there. There's veterans of the Discord at this point. It's wild. Come be part of it. It's a fun time. Of course, you can also subscribe for free to the Locked On Raptors daily newsletter. QR code on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. Link in the description of the podcast. And if you stick around to the end of the podcast, I'll tell you how you can win some stuff by subscribing to the newsletter. So that's a tease, baby. Coming up on today's show, we are playing a game called Higher or Lower, where we're going to look at all the core figures on your Toronto Raptors and talk about whether we are higher or lower on them as players compared to where we were at the start of the season. We'll run through Scottie Barnes, Barrett, Gradey Dick, Immanuel Quickley, Jakob Poeltl, Ochai, Agbaji, Jakob Poeltl, and whoever else we have time for. And here is a guy I have all kinds of time for to do it with us. It is Big V Vivek Jacob from his Raptors in 7 newsletter and, of course, Sportsnet, among other places on the internet. Big V, how the hell are you? Are you ready to play a stupid little game?
I am great, and I am ready to play all the stupid little games you have on offer.
The people love it when we play stupid little games. This is a common feedback I get on the podcast. So let's lean into the bit. Yeah,
Internet content ratings. It's stupid little games, and then ranking every possible thing that you can rank out there.
We do love it. I mean, we did a draft last week. People like drafts. There's all that good stuff. People don't like historical stuff, though, it turns out. No one likes it when we talk about the old days of the Raptors, which is sad to me. But you got to give the people what they want, I suppose. And today, we're talking about the current iteration of your Toronto Raptors. Very slowly making our way to the end of the season. 3 games to go. Feels like we have roughly 3 weeks left, but there's only like 6 days left. So, yay! Yeah, woohoo! We're going to get to the offseason very soon. Big V, let's start. We're playing higher or lower again. This is whether or not we are higher or lower on each individual guy compared to what our feelings about said player were at the start of the season. Let's start with the big one. Scottie Barnes. I'm interested to hear what you have to say here. It's been a strange season for Scottie. The start of the year was very encouraging. He was driving winning basketball as the number one guy. When he was on the floor, they were winning their minutes with him out there. It was all very encouraging. And then December hit. The offense has kind of cratered ever since. His shooting percentages are down the tubes. And, there's all kinds of consternation about Scottie Barnes, number one guy. Are you higher or lower on Scottie Barnes, who, by the way, has also made a gigantic defensive leap this season too, which I'm sure will come up as we dig into this? What you got, higher or lower on Scottie B?
I am going higher. I think.
Hey!
Is that what you have to?
That's a curveball right out of the gate, baby.
Okay, so
I mean, based on the general tone and tenor of the psycho fan base that I love you psychos, but you're psychos. It does feel like there's a bit of a down feeling on Scottie Barnes because this fan base simply cannot enjoy nice things. But carry on.
So I will start with leadership. I think
Yeah.
the biggest question I had coming into this season was, hey, is Scottie someone who can be the genuine leader of this team, right? And you look at, I won't call them red flags from last season, but moments that you just hoped for more and moments that you hoped he learned from. Obviously, the OKC game comes to mind, the San Antonio game as well, and just different moments where you would have liked to see him learn from. And so I think from that standpoint, I think he's made huge strides, even, playing through the pain the way he has these last couple months before taking these last couple games off. So I think leadership has been huge growth from my perspective. I think defense has been important growth in terms of being
Massive.
able to defend on the perimeter. I think if he had stayed, still an amazing, rim protector and wreaker of havoc as sort of a free safety guy, that would have been a positive. But I think to make the leap that he's made defending the perimeter has been significant.
Mhm.
And yes, offensively, there are concerns. Offensively, I think it helps that we can give him a little bit of a pass with what's happened with his hand. Uh,
Mhm.
but I think overall, I am higher now than I was at the end of last season, at the start, coming into this season. So yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting one because, yeah, at first blush, you look at the numbers, you look at the offense, and you say, oh, Scottie Barnes is worse. And I do think my answer here is kind of a mix, and it's probably going to come out somewhere close to even, honestly. Neither higher nor lower, just kind of the same, but in a different kind of way, if that makes sense. Like, I think coming into the season, I still thought there was a world in which Scottie Barnes could be the engine of a good offense, the guy who can be your clear number one creative force. And I think that's probably out the window at this point. Not to say that he can't get better, but we saw the creation from the top of the arc just not cutting it. Couldn't blow by guys, couldn't get into the teeth of the defense, create advantages, et cetera, et cetera. The 3-point shooting also, that's a big deal. And he was really bad at 3-point shooting this season. I expect he'll bounce back to some degree going forward, but maybe that's just never going to be a thing. Maybe the first half of last year goes down as the outlier, and that's fine. I do think I'm higher on him as a guy who can impact winning basketball, though, because of the defense. My God, the defense has been incredible this season. I've dug into the numbers plenty on the show, but when he's on the floor, the Toronto Raptors play near elite level defense. When he and Jakob Poeltl on the floor, they play defense as well as anybody in the league not called the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are damn good. They've been one of the best defenses in basketball over the last 45 or so games now. This is not just Mickey Mouse March numbers. Shout out our pals at Ball for the Mickey Mouse March moniker. It's not just that. If this was trending that way well before March took hold and the schedule got super easy. And Scottie Barnes is the biggest reason for that. I think he can be the anchor of a good to great defense. And that is a huge, huge deal. I also think I'd be lower on Scottie if the Raptors hadn't already taken a proactive step to go get a guy to address the whole creation thing, right? Like having Brandon Ingram on this team next season, to me, makes it so Scottie Barnes is going to be in a better position to succeed. I am fully expecting Scottie Barnes to have his most complete season next year. The defense plus a lessened offensive burden, I think, is going to produce really nice results. I think he's going to set career highs when it comes to efficiency. Maybe not raw scoring, but maybe raw scoring, just because he's going to be put in spots to finish and succeed that way. And so, yeah, I think all told, I thought Scottie Barnes had the juice to be a winning player coming into the season. I think he still has the juice to be a winning player coming out of this season. It's a different form of winning player than I thought was possible for him, but I still think overall I'm feeling good about Scottie Barnes, and I'm probably like a smidge higher. Just, you mentioned the intangible stuff. I do think that genuinely matters. I think there's been a lot of buy-in from him. And I know there's this sort of notion out there that, Darko Rajakovic doesn't hold Scottie to account, blah, blah, blah. I just don't buy it. I think there's been a lot of experimentation this season by design, and I think that's going to get reined in next year. And I think Scottie Barnes playing on a team that's competitive, you're going to get the best version of Scottie Barnes as well. Any last thoughts on Scottie before we get into some other guys on the team?
Probably the last thing I'll say on Scottie is in terms of the general discourse, people saying, hey, like, this is a massive extension. You expect more from a number one guy. And I think
Please stop with this goddamn hierarchy nonsense and the way we talk about the sport. Sorry.
So yeah, all I'll say is, do we expect Scottie to be able to score like a number one guy? No. But I think in terms of being the leader of the franchise moving forward and the face of the franchise moving forward, I put him more in that Jason Kidd mold. And it's like, hey, this is not the best scorer on the team, but he can be the guy that elevates everyone to a level that, can possibly, hopefully contend. Right. And now, am I saying he's as good as Jason Kidd or anything like that? No. Jason Kidd, Hall of Famer, all-time point guard. We're not going to put him in that category, not just yet anyway.
Yeah.
But just that type of franchise player, right? I don't think you have to be the best scorer on the team to be the number one guy. I don't think you have to be the best scorer on the team to be viewed as the face of the franchise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like a Chris Paul thing too, right? Like you have a lot of these sort of, and it's a different thing because he's not a point guard. But honestly, look, this is going to sound dumb, and I think I've been spending the last 10 to 12 years saying any comparisons to this guy are in fact dumb. But I do think if you're sort of looking at player comps for what Scottie Barnes can be going forward, I do think, and I believe this guy has even invoked Scottie Barnes' name and talking about his own style of play. I do think Draymond Green is the guy you look at. And again, this sickens me because I've been spending the last decade saying, stop comparing people to Draymond Green. He's a once-in-a-lifetime defender, once-in-a-lifetime developmental story, all of this stuff. But when you're talking about a guy who brings multi-positional defense at a couple inches bigger than Draymond Green with a bigger wingspan and all of that stuff, who also has some offensive juice in terms of connective passing, in terms of making things easier for pull-up shooting heavy lead guard and kind of working in concert and tandem with that. I do think there's something there to the ways you can deploy Scottie Barnes. And I think that's the avenue after seeing what we've seen for 4 years now. I do think next year is the time to kind of set him on a track for what he's going to be. And I think that kind of player is where Scottie Barnes should be sort of aimed. And I think he's got a little bit more offensive pop than Draymond even ever had. We'll see about the shooting. That's obviously a big part of this. Draymond's had some really great shooting years over his time in the league. But I do think that is the mold here. And yeah, that's an incredibly impactful player. Draymond Green, he's not Steph Curry, but he's probably the second most important player on a 4-time championship franchise. 5-time champion. They've won, how many? They won more than 4. Either way. That's the kind of impact I think Scottie can have, despite not being the lead bucket getter, which apparently is the only thing that matters to the hooper pilled out there. We're going to come back on the other side, get into some other dudes, including RJ Barrett. I'm fascinated to hear where we both come down on RJ after the season he's had. We'll get into him, Gradey Dick, Jakob Poeltl, and more, as we'll try to rapid fire through these a little bit quicker than we just spent with Scottie Barnes. We'll do that coming up in just a sec. Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood. And with Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash and non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of a high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account. Interest claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC. Member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Back at it here with Big V Vivek Jacob as we are playing higher or lower. Let me say it again. We're playing higher or lower. You say it with me, Big V. You got the range? You got the high C in your vocal octave range, or what? What do you got?
It's been a while. I don't know if I can get there. Higher.
Don't even need the lower. That's all. We're good.
That was my Mickey Mouse.
Hell yeah. Love that. I saw there was this thing circulating last week of Alvin and the Chipmunks doing an animatronic mascot.
Oh, you think I can
Jesse's
audition?
Girl. Yeah. Of Jesse's Girl by Rick Springfield. It's been stuck in my head for roughly a week with the Chipmunks just rattling around up there. You could go be the new Theodore, I think, perhaps. Let's carry on here. RJ Barrett. Higher or lower after a season where he's put up career numbers? The team hasn't necessarily performed super well with him on the floor. He's been kind of the weak link when it comes to the combinations of the core players and kind of bringing down the overall impact numbers that way. Higher or lower at RJ Barrett?
I see you're already leading me down a certain path.
I'm not leading you anywhere. If you think I am, then you're telling on your damn self.
No, but it's true. This might sound controversial. I know there's a lot of fans who have enjoyed watching RJ this season. I've enjoyed watching him. But there are moments where he's frustrated me. And I think overall, with where the efficiency needed to be for him this season, I am lower on him than I was coming into the season. I think I was in wait and see mode after what he did as a Raptor last season, saying, hey, can he really keep up this level of efficiency? I mean, he shot 60% on twos, 39% on threes. And so you look at this season, 52% on twos, 35% on threes. The free throw shooting has not gotten better. And so I think for what he is needed to do in this offense, the efficiency just has not been good enough. The defense overall has not been good enough, even if there has been improvement over the last couple months. And, the level of opponent probably has something to do with that as well. So
tell you what, there was not improvement on display in that game against the Nets. There was some classic RJ getting back cut to oblivion moments. Not so fun.
Yeah. So, overall, I just got to go on, lower than I was before.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same, but I'll go a smidge lower as well. And again, this is not to say I don't think RJ Barrett can be part of this team next season. I think it's worth giving it a shot to see what it all looks like. And I talked about this on yesterday's show. I think RJ Barrett playing with better players is better for RJ Barrett. I think a big reason why his efficiency has kind of gone back down to where it was before this year is they got away from a lot of the stuff that made him so effective last year, because whether by necessity, because Scottie missed time and Quickley missed time, he was on the ball more often, or they've kind of run him out with these full bench lineups. And I don't think that's doing him any good, really. I think there's a world in which you can slot him in with better players. I mean, the splits between his true shooting when Scottie's on the floor versus off, it's kind of remarkable. He's kind of where he was last year when Scottie's on the floor, and well below his career numbers when Scottie's off. And so I do think there's a way in which he can be deployed in an effective manner. What does that mean for the salary cap situation and all of that? It's anybody's guess. But yeah, I think as a winning impact player, I kind of had my doubts he was going to be that coming into this year. I still have my doubts about that now, but it doesn't mean I'm just trading him for the first couple of picks you can get. I do think, someone who can put up the numbers he has with the usage he's carried this year, like, there's a better, more efficient version of that somewhere within RJ. And I think if he's putting up like 18, 4 and 4 or something like that on next year's team in a lesser role, I think he can kind of get back to those higher efficiency numbers that we saw last season. But yeah, slightly lower, I think, in terms of just like, can he impact winning than where we were at before the year? Let's go Immanuel Quickley. Fascinating guy here. Missed half the season. It was stop and start. And since January 31st or so, when he fully got healthy and has only missed games for rest, he's been pretty damn good and very efficient. And I think doing a lot of the point guard things. I'll start here. I am a smidge higher on Immanuel Quickley than I was at the start of the year. I think the point guard stuff is real. I think we saw this in that game against the Pistons on Friday. This has been a recurring thing. Even when he's not hitting his shots, when he's having those off nights that are going to come when you're a super high volume 3-point shooter, he's doing other things to affect winning. He has won his minutes when he's been on the floor this season for the Raptors, at least since January the 31st. Prior to that, not so good. But since he got healthy, which is the lion's share of his season, the team is winning its minutes. The defense is much better when he's out there. The offense just runs smoother because he's the best advantage creator they have right now. He's a walking paint touch. Whether he's scoring at the rim, that's been, hit and miss. But overall, I think the way he's both kind of found his own while also setting others up has been real point guard stuff, which has kind of always been my view of Immanuel Quickley. I don't think he's this off-ball scoring guy. I think he's way more classic sort of pass and threes point guard who brings you apparently some pretty solid defense now too. So yeah, as a winning player, as someone who I'm totally comfortable with the deal they've given him, I am a little bit higher on Quickley after this season. And obviously it's an incomplete grade to some degree because he didn't play half the year and it was the better part of the schedule he was out for. But what we've seen, I've been pretty encouraged. What about you?
So I'm going to go the same here.
Okay.
I have not seen him enough this season to feel a particular way whether I'm higher or lower. I think
Sure.
one of the big things for me coming into the year was seeing whether he could improve his rim frequency and his finishing at the basket. That's something that has not really happened. He's still, around 10, 12% in terms of his rim frequency, and his field goal percentage right at the basket is around 58%, which is not great. So I think those reasons have me just saying, okay, let's see what next season looks like. And I do feel, that he does have a bit of pressure on him, because I do think his contract is at a level where, he does need to pretty much get to an all-star level, I feel,
Mm-hmm.
to say, hey, this was worth the money. Because, uh, 175 is a big deal. And I think,
Well, it's not that though. That's like the high unlikely incentives. We're talking 32.5 million a year, which comes in well into that 175. But
yeah,
yes.
yeah. But I think for what Quickly is expected to be on this team, unless you get a whole bunch of shooting on this team, he will have to level up. I think this level of Immanuel Quickley, I don't think is enough. And
Okay.
so that was kind of what my thinking was coming into the year. And so he's only played 32 games, so I'm willing to give him a pass and say, hey, let's see what next season looks like, and then I'll give maybe a hard answer on where he's at.
That's fair. I'm going to push back. I don't think $32.5 million needs to be an all-star in the modern cap environment. I think average point guard is kind of what that number is going to be. He was the 14th highest paid point guard in the league the day he signed the deal. That's not even all-star level the day he signed it. And yeah, like you want him to be healthier. The rim stuff for sure has to come around. I'm not opposed to the idea that there's a world in which this contract doesn't look great over time, but I do think it's going to age well as the cap goes up and the base salary for a starting point guard increases. For me, I think quickly the comp I've thrown around a little bit is Mike Conley. And I think he's got less of sort of the natural point guard brain than Mike Conley, who's like one of the great floor generals of our time. But I do think that combination of really excellent shooting, creativity for others, doesn't have to be your number one offensive option, but can kind of do it when you need him in a pinch. I think that's kind of where I see Quickly. And yeah, if you're just going on this season, did he give you 32.5 million bucks of production this season? Probably not. But I don't
Definitely
think
not. You
all-star.
gotta play at least like 60 games to do that.
For sure, for sure. And so, on like a per minute basis, I think certainly he did. But yeah, he didn't play enough. And that's part of the whole deal here. But 32.5, I do not think he needs to be an all-star to make that worth it. I think average starting point guard is all he's being paid to do. And I do think there's a world in which he overshoots that at some point during the life of this deal as well. And yes, this is all sort of under the cloud of I'm a gigantic pro Quickly guy. I think he's very good, and I've wanted him on the Raptors for a very long time. But I think, putting my Quickly colored glasses aside, I do think the 32.5 mil, it's like this big sticker shock number, but that's just going to be kind of the going rate for an average starter as the league progresses into this sort of new cap era with the cap going up with the TV deal and all this stuff and gambling and all that crap. We're going to come back on the other side here, Big V. We got to rattle through some guys. We're going to go rapid fire through Poeltl, Gradey Dick, Ochai, Agbaji, Jakob Poeltl, see how far we can get. We'll do that coming up in just 1 second. Today's show is sponsored by BetterHelp. And look, it's always good to have someone to talk to. Taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health. But traditional in-person therapy can be expensive, often ranging from $100 to $250 per session. That's where BetterHelp comes in. With online therapy, you get quality care at a price that makes sense, saving you time and money. Therapy isn't just for life's toughest moments. It can help with everyday stress, learning how to set boundaries, or developing positive coping skills. Having access to support when you need it can make a big difference. I'll tell you, I've started therapy recently because I have a kid coming and the world scares me. I just need to talk it all out with somebody. And I found it extremely helpful to just talk to my therapist about whatever I got going on in a given time and help just kind of understand why I'm feeling the way I am about certain things, so I can help kind of create coping strategies and mechanisms by which to feel better in my day-to-day life as I welcome a child into the world very soon. Your well-being is worth it. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Wrapping it up here in our round of higher or lower with our pal Big V, Vivek Jacob of Sportsnet and Raptors in 7, as we are going to rapid fire through here a couple of dudes, 4 guys I think we'll try to get through to close the show, maybe 5 if we have time. Let's start with Jakob Poeltl. Career year for Jakob Poeltl. He's been damn good, higher or lower on the Raptors. Very, very stable, steady, maybe kind of underpaid starting big man.
Yeah, I'm gonna go higher. I did not know that there was a Jakob Poeltl in him. I did not know that there was improved free throw shooting in him. I did not know that there was a corner 3 in him. So I'm gonna go
corner 3, singular.
So I'm gonna go higher.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I mean, it's been a damn good year for Poeltl. 14.5, 10 boards. The free throw shooting snuck up on me a little bit. 67%. Not so bad for a guy who's been in the
Better than RJ.
Better than RJ. Don't love that for RJ. But yeah, it's been a nice, really nice season for Jakob Poeltl. Very steady. Obviously missed some time, and he's been resting a bunch down the stretch here. But again, I go back to the defensive impact. Him and Scottie Barnes on the floor. Those two dudes have been awesome. They've set the table for a very good defensive finish for this team. And yeah, I still probably think Jakob Poeltl's the type of big who, at some point, once you reach a higher level of contention, you're going to want to upgrade upon, similar to Jonas Valanciunas for the last decade version of the Raptors. But I'm in no rush to move on from Jakob Poeltl. He very clearly is the most impactful guy in terms of just the raw metrics on the team. When he's on the floor, the team is competent. Guys are developing. He's a wonderful pick and roll partner for Immanuel Quickley. That's been a really fun connection to watch. He's been a good pick and roll partner for Scottie and for RJ Barrett as well. He just brings guys along. I think it's only going to continue. Him working with Jamal Shed, him working with Jacoby Walter. Very much higher on Jakob Poeltl than I was at the start of the year. And I've always been a Yak guy, but awesome season from him, no doubt. Let's go to Gradey Dick, who a bit of a forgotten man because he hasn't played in quite some time. His season is officially over per Darko Rajakovic before last Friday's game against Detroit. We all kind of knew that was the case anyway, as he suffered like a knee thing and a head thing and a face thing and an arm thing or whatever, all in one fell swoop in one really ugly play to end his season. It was started off red hot. It kind of tapered as the season went along. Are you higher or lower on Gradey Dick than you were at the start of the year, Big V?
I am higher on him because I think we've seen process-wise his ability to get off a shot improve significantly, right? And you think about expectations coming into the season. It was, hey, can he just expand beyond being a corner 3 guy? Mm-hmm. And he's done that. I think the efficiency has been an issue. I don't think he's shot the ball at the clip that you would like. The pull-up 3, I believe he's at 28% for the season, which is very underwhelming for the reputation that he has. But I think the process in terms of him being able to get off shots and create space for himself, and that overall shot creation has been really encouraging for him in terms of identifying a long-term ceiling for him. And now next season, we will definitely judge where his efficiency is at, because he will hopefully be asked to do much less.
Yeah, like the usage he carried to start the year clearly burnt him out. He just, like, I believe he lost most of the weight he gained in the summer. I think that's been a thing that's out there. I know that's something our pal Samson Focus speculated upon, and I think that's correct. Like, he just looked less cut than he did at the start of the year because he carried so much of a burden early on with Scottie out, with Quickley out. It was really him and RJ Barrett who were guiding the ship, and the team's offense was really like impressive when Gradey Dick was on the floor in terms of just like how he was impacting things compared to what they were doing when he was not out there. He was really good to start the season. You can't fake what Gradey Dick, you can't do that by accident, what he did for the first couple months of the season. And so, yeah, I'm much higher on Gradey than I was coming in. I was optimistic that we'd see more after the strong close to last year. But just think about this. Yeah, his efficiency wasn't awesome this year, but think about the difficulty of the looks he took. Think about the usage he carried. Think about the minutes increase. This year he played nearly or more than 300 more minutes than he did last year in 6 fewer games. Like he carried a huge burden as a really important cog on this team for the first 2/3 of the year. and his efficiency dropped 0.3 percentage points. He was a 54.6 true shooting guy last year, 54% true shooting this year, 54.3 that is. Like at the start of the year, he was in like the high 50s, low 60s for times. And so, yeah, I think asked to do less, playing perhaps even in a bench role where he's kind of making things happen off the bench with Jakob Poeltl and Ochai Agbaji and Jamal Shed. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for Gradey to be like a number 2 or 3 option when he's on the floor. But again, second units and when he's with the starters, it's going to be playing off of your Ingram, your Quickley, your Barnes, and all of that. I'm much higher on where Dick can come. Obviously, the defense needs to be better. It has to improve for him to be like a playoff credible player down the line, but plenty of time for that. He's 21 years old, and the offensive stuff is very real. And there's a world in which you can just be so good at offense in the NBA that your defense is kind of irrelevant. That's the modern NBA we operate within. And so, yeah, I'm much higher on Gradey than I was to start the year. Really nice season from him, despite kind of petering out near the finish. Let's go to Ochai Agbaji, your guy, Big V. Feels like an obvious one, higher or lower on Ochai?
Well, I mean, I think I was already so high on him.
True. This is interesting. A fun wrinkle.
So that's the difficulty. So for me, I am actually in the same place as I was coming into this season, because the way it's actually played out is what I thought was possible for him. I think he has gone a little bit beyond that with offensively, with the way he's able to knock down some of the above the break threes that we've seen, but maybe he's waned a bit defensively, and so I think that's where I probably say I'm the same. Like if I saw a higher defensive ceiling at this point, I might say there's still more to get out of him. And maybe I'm still, higher. But considering where I was coming into this season, I'd probably say I'm at the same, and I would not be surprised if he just hovered around where he is right now over his Raptors tenure.
Yeah, I'm certainly higher because I thought there was a very real chance he had played himself out of the NBA by about December of this season. It just was not going to be in the rotation. Obviously, he was Mr. Dependable all season long. His 2-point finishing was off the charts. 3-point the accuracy kept up throughout the season. Yet it wasn't the 48% he was for the first month or so, but he still ended up around a 40% 3-point shooter. The defense not amazing, but if I came in not thinking he was going to be in the league very long, to now thinking he's probably just like a really nice 7th or 8th man you're happy to have around, certainly higher. I do want to pose this question to you, Big V, and it might break your heart a little bit, but we know that there's potentially a tax crunch coming this summer. Of course, the stance here is pay the damn tax. Don't be losers. Be rich guys. Just pay the damn tax. You just paid Vlad Guerrero $500 million. Pay for your damn basketball team. But there is a world in which the Raptors move up in the draft and they have to cut some money to get under. I know RJ Barrett's been the guy who's thrown around as like, oh, they're just going to move on from RJ. There is a world in which Ochai is just the guy they move to duck the tax. That the math does work, even if they jump into the top 4, to just move Ochai and be able to duck the tax with the minimum deals you can fill the roster with. Would this break your heart if Ochai were in fact a cap casualty, as he is due an extension this summer? I'm not sure he'll get it, just because that seems premature for the Raptors to go and do with a lot of money on the books. But I think that is sort of an outside possibility this summer that he gets moved on.
Yeah, look, that's something I've considered too, and that's part of why when I finished what I was saying, I said, for whatever his Raptors tenure ends up being. And I do think
is this something you like go to bed like dreading every single night? Ochai, Ochai.
I'm the Wolverine meme. But yeah, I do think it was important for the franchise to also just get back to that trend of getting players, maximizing them, and then potentially trading them for even better long-term value down the line. And so I think Ochai making himself that type of candidate is in itself a win for this franchise. And so I'm happy about that. And so I think if the Raptors decide to move on from him, it's great that, as opposed to, say, for example, your perspective of him just being off the roster by December, that he's someone you could probably look around the league and say, hey, we've got this, pretty intriguing 3-and-D guy that might be a fit for you. Maybe, you look at, hey, what's a backup big or something like that we need on this roster that we can get in now.
Sure. Yeah. Totally. That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, he's like the kind of guy that I think a lot of contenders would be like, yeah, we could use him in our playoff rotation as a 7th or 8th guy. Like, he's probably a little bit below like the Dorian Finney-Smith tier of guy, but not super far below. And there's a lot of guys who can use a 6'5" dude who can 40% of his threes and, at least do capable defensive things on the perimeter. Let's quickly go to Jakob Poeltl. We're not going to do the rest of the rookies because, like, I don't know. I didn't have like crazy high opinions of any of the 2nd round rookies or undrafted guys coming into the year. Jakob Poeltl as a 1st round pick, a guy who I watched plenty of when I was kind of preparing for the draft. Probably someone who, we can have a bit of a better, higher, or lower conversation about. Where are you at with Jakobi based on where you thought he would be coming into the year?
Yeah, I'm higher, man.
I feel like that's the correct answer. God damn.
I'm super high on Jakobi now. Like, I've loved watching him this season. I think the two-way potential that he has is really, really good. Just a really intriguing guy that you could see as the starting shooting guard on this team at some point. And I'll even dare say, depending on how big a change we see over the summer, like, I would not be shocked if he is the starting shooting guard by the end of next season, or good enough to be the starting shooting guard by the end of next season.
Yeah, I think he's got future starter written all over him. I think he's got the juice. He's got the sauce. He's dripping in sauce. He's Darko Rajakovic seems to just like glow every time he's talking about him, and in terms of his coachability, in terms of the things he's just kind of getting better at as time goes on. I thought coming in, I was not super high on the pick because I thought he was kind of Hooper pilled, and he's been roughly 90% less Hooper pilled than I thought, whilst also having a bit of a Hooper's bag still. He's got the pull-up game a little bit. He's got the driving. He's got the free throw merchant stuff. Yeah, I'm very
Hooper
high.
Pilled in the absolute perfect way.
100%. Yeah, he's got just the right amount of Hooper on top of all of just like the little things that he does extremely well to affect winning basketball. Super into it. Very much higher on Jakob Poeltl. Big V, we're going to leave it there. Thanks so much for hanging out, buddy. Before we get into stuff you got to promote, I got to promote some stuff first, damn it. We have a contest. Of course, I've written a newsletter about this basketball team every day of the season, save for like 1 or 2 since the start of the year. I really enjoyed it, and we're looking for your help to support the newsletter and keep it rolling. And all you got to do is subscribe if you have not yet. If you subscribe to the Locked On Raptors newsletter between now and April 30th, you're going to be entered into a draw for a chance to win one of 3 prizes. The number 3 prize, a $200 Fanatics gift card. Nice. The number 2 prize, a $300 Game Time gift card. Hey, that's great. You get a lot of Jays tickets for that. Or the grand prize, a $2,500 Best Buy gift card to go upgrade your at-home theater setup. Go and subscribe today. Your name will be put in a draw, and that'll be pulled out at the end of the month to see who wins the $2,500 to Best Buy just for subscribing to my extremely free and extremely good newsletter. There's no reason not to do it. You get my posts, you get my thoughts on the draft as we get ready for that, and all kinds of good stuff. So please go do that for a chance to win some pretty slick prizes by subscribing to the newsletter. Big V, anything you want to promote now that I've got my stuff out of the way?
Usual stuff. I'm going to have a new post for Raptors in 7 out, just evaluating Darko Rajakovic's season and, whether he should have got the extension or not. I think he should have, but you can read on the specifics on Raptors in 7 soon enough. Besides that, you can follow everything I'm doing. I just wrote a piece for Basketball Insiders. Obviously, the West playoff race is absolutely insane between 3rd and 8th. So I kind of broke that down. You can go check that out at Basketball Insiders. You can follow it all on Twitter and Blue Sky at Vivek M. Jacob.
Go do the damn thing. Thank you for supporting the show. Follow, subscribe, rate, review. Go to the newsletter. QR code on the screen. Link in the description. The Discord is also at the link in the description of the podcast. We're going to be back tomorrow with our pal Andrew Ivamy. If you don't remember, he's been a former guest of the show. He's a wonderful stand-up comic from around Toronto who's got a special recording very soon, and we're going to come on. He's going to talk about this season being a Raptors fan. I'm very fascinated by like the casual, less sort of insane person fan perspective on this season, because I think it's been a drag for a lot of folks. Really excited to talk to Andrew about that. And we'll have some fun too, because he's a funny guy. Either way, that'll be Wednesday's show. Thank you so much for rocking with us. We'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye. Oh, I almost broke the streak. I've been so cold. Damn it.